question is, what do we do with the information? And so I have an activity that I want you to do as a school, that I want you to do as a district, called breaking the code. And breaking the code means that you're going to dig under the generalization. So for example, if I were to take um, the one that I get frequently is African Americans or Black students, right? I get that frequently. So the first question, follow me along here. We're at the top tier. The first question I ask at school is, or district, do you have any African American students who are having success? Right? Do you have any successful African American students here? I'm happy to say that 100% of the time, the answer is yes. Okay. I'm happy to say that 100% of the time, the answer is yes. Right. So then I say, okay, we're really talking about two groups of students among your African American students, those who are having success and those who are not having success. Right. So among the African American students not having success, who's most likely to be underserved? That's the question we're asking. Among the students not having success, who's most likely to be underserved? And this is now going too deep. And I'll typically get poor students or boys. Okay. So now we are too deep. We move from the general category of African American students to, let's just say, boys. Boys. So then I asked the school district, do you have any African American male student, boy students who are having success? I'm happy to say that 100% of the time I get the answer yes, right? I get the answer yes. Okay. So now we have two, right? We're going to do it again. So then I say, among the African American boys who are not having success, who's most likely to be underserved? Poor, a single parent household, right? Okay, then I ask the question again. Do you have any single parent boy African American students, three deep now, who are having success? Now it's interesting because that question gets harder. Like you get less, the first time I asked the people like, yeah, of course. But now it gets harder to answer, right? And eventually I want you to go four deep. So you would have four variables, and whomever you identify, that's the specifics of cultural responsiveness and validation affirmation. All right. And I need you to do this activity. If we were together right now, we would be doing this activity together. And I would be going around to each table and I would be saying, okay, tell me who you're underserved. Tell me who you're underserved. And you would be identifying the four variables that we're referring to right now. You would be telling us this information. So I would actually kind of stop and pause right now to give you that opportunity to do that. But again, I don't know how you're watching this, but this is a conversation that must occur. This is a conversation that must occur if you're going to debrief, or if you're going to come back if you're going to come back to this work and talk about it. Now, with that said, I want to just talk about a couple of other, just the typical generalized groups that we frequently hear. So, of course, African American students, poor students, um, English learners, special needs or special education. These are the common generalization, and I call all of those talking in code. All of those are so if I tell you that our special needs students are most underserved, what can you do with that information? Like he's like, okay, thanks. Oh, I appreciate you telling me that. Right. So there's nowhere to go with it. So I strongly encourage you, so that you can be culture responsive, that you break the code. Get away from the generalizations, go for it deep, and then make a commitment to be validating and affirming to those students. Let me give you another bonus that I forgot to mention. It lessens the numbers. It lessens the numbers. A couple of years ago, I was working with a school in Sacramento. We did the activity together. Their generalized group was their poor students. This was a small elementary school, so they actually had a number. of an exact number of the students who fell in the Title I category. It was about, I'm just throwing this out, but I'm being close. It was around 300, it was like 60% of their population. So we dug under that. We got 4 deep, and that number of 3 something boiled down to about 40 students. Yes. They realized that when they were thinking of their poor students, they were really thinking about these particular students, 40 students. And this staff of about 12 to 15 people looked at each other in the room that day and said, we can make a difference with these 40 kids. And we're not saying that we're only going to be working with those 40 kids. We're just saying that's the saying of the, I get the saying always, a high tide rises all boats, or low tide rises boats. You know what I'm trying to say, right? That's the sort of philosophy. That's the sort of view that we're trying to have. Like if we can do it with this group, then we can do it with the next group, and then we keep moving for there. But if we stay in the generalization, it's not going to work. And that's my message to you. You got to dig under. So let's recap real quickly. We spent the majority of our time talking about what it